Greetings adventurers, and welcome to the Lookout Marketplace. There is nothing wrong with wanting to play your favorite characters from your favorite media in a tabletop game. Some people see it as tacky, but I find that new players may appreciate playing a character that was basically their favorite fantasy hero, because it lets them quickly improvise based on how they'd expect that character to react to the world. It can be a lot less pressure. However, if a Dungeon Master is forcing you to play a specific character that is a favorite of theirs, and gets mad at you when you stray from the accepted lore, then it seems like they want you to put on a play for them instead of playing a TTRPG together, and that doesn't sound very fun at all. And you'll see exactly why in today's treasure, which goes by the name Dungeon Master Runs Curse of Strahd, claiming it being his homebrew and forces players into playing League of Legends characters. This one will be a bumpy ride, so buckle up. As any other good horror story, this one starts in a looking for group forum. A few months ago, I stumbled upon a small advertisement in our local LFG about a roleplay heavy game, and decided that I have enough spare time to give it a go. I've been invited to a Discord server with only one other dude. The server was too big for a regular game, and soon I figured out that a few games are running here by a few Dungeon Masters. The Dungeon Master invited us to voice chat and started explaining his homebrew world, and then announced that the game will be the Curse of Strahd. It wasn't mentioned in the advertisement, and the Dungeon Master started explaining that the game will be in fact homebrew in his homebrew world. He just needed a name for a big vampire villain and didn't want to use Dracula. The other dude left immediately as he didn't sign up for a module, and I should have followed him. But I really wanted to play some of my characters in a roleplay heavy group, so I stayed. Stupid past me. The Dungeon Master then went on a rant about how the dude was wrong, and his character idea was stupid anyways. He wanted to play a forged cleric. What kind of concept is that, am I right? Well, this was the biggest red flag, and at this point I realized that this will be some BS game, and even if I won't be able to have a good game, I'll be able to have a good laugh. Then the Dungeon Master asked me for my concepts. I offered him 4 or 5. He said they all didn't fit his world. I exclusively play small races, but he doesn't have any in his world. No kobolds, no goblins, no gnomes, no halflings. Anyway, only people who min-max play halflings. There is no other reason. Okay, I have 3 other beloved concepts at the moment, and they are not small characters. But no dragonborns, no monks, no artificers. Bloodhunter is okay, but I won't let you play it. It's underpowered. Who even plays Phalanx? At some point he sends me some character reference and asks what if I could play a Nordic Tiefling Ranger. Okay, so we have my character, Tyra. Dungeon Master suggests to me a few character traits and reasons why she's not in the north right now. We establish her connections. Dungeon Master tells me that she should have some kind of blinking, and it's important to the plot somehow. I agree and pick the Horizon Walker subclass. So we started our session 1. Of course, there was no session 0. The cast is the Dungeon Master, he is just that. Tyra, which is me, my girl. Paladin, the owner of the server and the Dungeon Master of another game where our Dungeon Master and Bladelock are playing. And then there's Bladelock, a very special elven woman and the sister of Paladin. There's Phalanx, a young and curious girl, and Artificer, some old friend of the Dungeon Master. Well, he told me he doesn't want any artificers, but here is one. Maybe she just had a better character concept. From the start, my Tyra is assigned as a bodyguard to the Artificer. I'm okay-ish with that. We meet as a party somewhere for 3 hours of game time, and it's going pretty well actually. The players are great, the Dungeon Master is a good storyteller and puts a lot of effort into visuals and music. I've made Tyra a little bit brutish, but putting a lot of nature-related metaphors. Our interactions with Artificer are fun as well. We are all going to Artificer's old mansion, and when we find it, I realize it's a death house. I'm not running a module, he said. Artificer is the last of her family, others were slain by Strahd, and this is her mansion. We enter and explore all the floors, but there are 0 encounters. There is some BS in the basement, we kill it, and the Dungeon Master tells us we can't stop the session until we finish. It's almost 7 hours of play in. At the end, he says, "You did a bad job." Our party is unbalanced. We only have one frontliner who got obliterated in 2 rounds. Somehow, only my character did okay, or so he says. Only one of us gets down in the combat, but he wants everything to be very realistic, so if you don't patch yourself immediately after being hit, you die. The role-playing part was fun, though, so I'm still on board. We all stay to talk after the session, and the Dungeon Master says, "I want to play D&D with friends, so we all must become friends. Every evening we sit and chat, come sit with us." I text the Dungeon Master after the game asking if I can change my subclass so it'll fit a frontline playstyle more, and he's okay with that. But he mentions that I still need blinking for plot reasons, and he will make me a feat that I must take. Okay, I guess? Honestly, we're already off to like a terrible start. The initial gut reaction of this guy was to quit, and I feel like if you're ever meeting strangers online, it's a looking for group situation. You have no ties to these people. You totally can leave if you get even a small sign that maybe the campaign isn't for you. Totally be nice to the guy, tell them up front, you know, maybe this isn't a good fit for me, I'm going to withdraw my application. You don't have to ghost them, but you don't have to play an entire campaign either. And the fact that this Dungeon Master is so bossy when it comes to character creation, I mean, I get having a situation where you want to play an artificer and then they're like, actually, there's someone who's already playing it. They're a good friend of mine. They've been excited about it. They already made the character sheet. If you said that, most people being reasonable would say, yeah, that makes sense. I can play something else I've been planning. But the fact that he's like, actually, you know, you gave me like 10 suggestions. I hate all of them. Play a ranger, play a tiefling ranger at that, and you have to pick this specific subclass because of plot reasons. That is such a crazy ask that I wouldn't expect anyone to stick around. But hey, it's only the first session. It can only get worse from here, right? Let's jump in. Session 2 comes. We all sit in a death house, drinking tea and making plans on how to renovate this place to live here. The Dungeon Master says that we can't stay here. We need to live in Barovia. We, totally not according to the module, escort Arena to Vallaki. I have a great time interacting in character, but Paladin is mostly silent. Baylock meets her patron, and it's a League of Legends character. The Dungeon Master praises League of Legends for characters being written good every minute of his life. We end the session, and the Dungeon Master says to the Baylock player in a disappointed tone, I expected your character to act otherwise. Weird to hear such things. Oh well. Dungeon Master starts ranting that nobody came to voice chat to be friends, and we all leave. Artificer DMs me to discuss our character's relationship, and we talk a little bit about our characters. She says, oh, you have a Nordic Ranger with blinks. I played this character in Dungeon Master's previous game, and she has a nice story. WTF. She says that she played with Dungeon Master before, and she played Nordic Rogue with some blinks, and it was a lot of fun. I find it disturbing that the Dungeon Master just decided to give me someone else's story, despite me being proud of my backstory, but I decide not to call him out. Session 3, we fight some random centaurs on our way to Vallaki. Dungeon Master says that we are doing bad. None of us were down. So he made the last centaur run away. We reach Vallaki, Ezek gives us a hard time, and the Dungeon Master is pushing us to fight him. Bladelock at this point is our party face, so she does most of the interactions with NPCs. All of them pressure her not to kill Ezek, but remove him somehow. We get there and start fighting guards in a small hall, but we all roll badly and can't kill a single guard in 3 rounds. So some rebels arrive and we go towards a stairway to the 2nd floor. Ezek is standing in front of us. Here everything is going to shit. So I ask the Dungeon Master if I can transfer my hunter's mark on Ezek. He says no. I was running a whole minute on 40 feet stairs. I don't object. I don't like to argue with the Dungeon Master in the middle of the game. So we start fighting. Me and the Paladin frontlining, I cast Zephyr Strike to leave Ezek's melee range, as I don't have much HP left, and throw axes from afar. Then I ask the Dungeon Master if I can pick up one of my axes near Ezek as an item interaction. He says sure. I come in melee range and leave. He says he will make an opportunity attack. I have Zephyr Strike on me still. I don't provoke opportunity. He has this special ability, so you do. Can I read the ability? No. I didn't write it down. Okay, so he hits me and I'm unconscious. Bladelock, who is told like 40 times by some NPC that we need Ezek alive, asks if she can throw a knife to his knee to make her range attack not lethal. He doesn't allow it, so she comes closer and hits him in melee, misses as she has a shitty bonus in melee. Ezek crits on her, leaving the Bladelock one-eyed. Of course we had injuries in our roleplay heavy game. We eventually win, but everyone is frustrated. Tyra insists on cutting Ezek's arm off with necessary medical preparation. The Dungeon Master says okay, but Artificer and Bladelock players start arguing that it's not realistic, and if he can die from a dagger to the knee, that he certainly can die to his arm being cut off. So the Dungeon Master rage quits. It could have been a good ending to the story, but he comes back to apologize in half an hour. He gathers us all and announces that 2 characters will die next session. I say LOL, me and the Paladin of course, we are the only frontliners. The Dungeon Master says no, it won't be Tyra. We all sit silent, like, is it okay to plan the death of a character in a roleplay heavy game in session 4? I don't think so. Artificer calls Dungeon Master in a private voice call to ask ask him not to kill her character because she likes her and she's going through some stuff IRL and doesn't want any more stress, only to figure out he plans to kill Artificer and Bladelock. We don't talk about it much and session 4 is coming. The way that this Dungeon Master communicates with the party is just outright awful. I mean, if a combat goes well, but not well enough where it's like a clean win, he'll say, "Huh, you guys handled that poorly. I totally wrote in my head that it should take 2 rounds and it took you guys like 4 rounds, so really shittily done, guys." And you have to remember that the Ranger here was assigned his character. There's a pretty good chance that he assigned other characters too. And the fact that he's saying, "Your character handled that poorly, I don't like how you handled that," because when I assigned you that character, I had a different way of it going in my mind. This dude's a massive control freak. And their oldest friend, the person playing the Artificer, has to beg for their character's life because for some reason, after an encounter that he doesn't like the outcome of, he rage quits and then he comes back 30 minutes later saying, "Don't worry guys, I have a solution to the problem I created in my own head. I have to kill 2 of you next session. And for some reason, my best friend's one of them and no, you can't talk me out of it." What kind of creature are we dealing with as a Dungeon Master right here? This actually makes me guilty to admit that I played my own fair share of League of Legends. Mind you, this story is over 4 years old, so when he says that League of Legends has really superior character development, Arcane wasn't out yet. There was hardly any form of media that consistently built upon the character. Sure, you got a cool cinematic trailer here or there, but it's only really a recent thing where League of Legends does any character development like at all. In the past, they usually relied in giving you cool aesthetics and the general vibes of the character. I don't know what this Dungeon Master's on, but let's just see how session 4 goes. There are some things going on in the server which spice things up a bit. So there are 3 games currently, one run by Paladin, one by the Dungeon Master, and Bladelock is gathering new players to start her own. She invited a few last week. One of them is a miner who is enthusiastic and drawing her cute druid. Dungeon Master plays in all 3 games. So the day of the game came and I got messaged by the Dungeon Master half an hour before the start to come to voice chat. Bladelock left the server, he says. She didn't give any reasoning to anyone. She left their gaming group in a message and blocked the Dungeon Master. She also left all her newfound players on the server. We sit for a little bit till Artificer and Phelock enter voice chat. Paladin was supposed to be absent for that session, so they didn't join. I get angry at first because I don't like when people ghost, but then one of her players, a miner, says that she got a text, which explains that Bladelock found this server toxic and couldn't stand it anymore. We confronted the Dungeon Master as last evening they were playing League of Legends together in voice, and he's the only one who would know anything. He makes a guess. She left because she didn't want to be friends and never sat in silence with us. We shrug as it's hard to believe, but he claims it as a working theory. We discuss a few more possible reasons as another new player, we will call him Rogue, enters the voice chat and blames the Dungeon Master for bullying Bladelock into leaving. When Bladelock invited new players, the Dungeon Master felt obligated to call them in voice and explain to them how we play here. Rogue wanted to play a rogue, so the Dungeon Master called him to make sure he won't steal from the party and understands that playing a halfling rogue is dumb. He made a minor girl cry by criticizing her character, and every time he gets into voice chat with Bladelock, he pressured her to play her character how he sees it. After all, he assigned her that character. We all sat and listened to Rogue's story silent. The Dungeon Master says that everything Rogue says is BS and asks sarcastically, "Maybe I assign characters to anyone else?" "Yes to me," I said. "And me," says Phelock. "And me," actually, says Artificer. I sat there silently. Both Artificer and Phelock entered this game after me. He told me no to both of those classes, and then he forced someone else to play them. Dungeon Master is trying to stabilize the situation. He kicks Rogue from voice chat and starts persuading us that we picked our characters by ourselves, but all 3 of us are standing our ground at this point and trying to talk to Dungeon Master and explain to him that his actions led to Bladelock leaving the server and not wanting anything to do with TTRPGs anymore. He says yes, it might be that, but she also might have left because we didn't sit in voice chat like friends. This DM's fixation with having people sit in Discord with them so they feel like they have friends is just coming off as pathetic. It's been mentioned so many times now. Then the Paladin shows up. He says that he bans Dungeon Master from his server and reads us a message from Bladelock, which sounds like she was abused by Dungeon Master a lot. We all leave, but the story doesn't end. Me, Artificer, and Phelock have other common servers, at which we gather to discuss what just happened. And Artificer tells us about their previous game, which also broke up because of the Dungeon Master's BS. He apparently lied to them about his age, as 2 years ago he said he was 20, and a few days prior to our last session he told us he had his 20th birthday. He once even lied about his father dying to stop the session. She didn't know it was a lie, but she figured it out later and she hoped that he got better. When we were generating Tyra, he told me about his roleplay group and showed me a few commissions of his character. I googled them and obviously it wasn't his character or commissions. I don't know what else he lied about, but when he created another server and invited us, only Artificer joined to support his friend, just to later be blamed for the second group breaking up because of her, as per the Dungeon Master. I contacted Paladin. He wanted to play Ranger, but the Dungeon Master didn't allow him to and forced me into playing Ranger. All the times he was silent at games, he just didn't want to play his character. So yeah, you probably didn't figure it out, but all our characters were League of Legends characters. My Blinking Nordic BS, Phalok, was Nico all along. I struggle to name others as I don't play League of Legends. I just hope Bladelock will forgive us all and consider trying TTRPGs sometime again. TLDR, Dungeon Master forces everyone in the game to play characters someone else wanted to play, bullies everyone when his expectations aren't met, till the group explodes. We all played a totally original homebrew, which wasn't Curse of Strahd. It was Curse of Strahd. One thing that I find really interesting about this story is the fact that no matter what the party does, the Dungeon Master is miserable, and he makes weird decisions like forcing people to play other people's classes that makes the players miserable. Another weird factor here is the fact that the author gave a ton of suggestions for what they wanted to play. The Dungeon Master shot all of them down and outright said, nah, you're playing a Ranger, and then when everyone else suggested their stuff afterwards, he said, a few of those ideas weren't too bad, I can turn them into League of Legends characters. Although the author didn't know any of the characters besides Nico outright, I'm curious if people in the comments are going to be able to identify who is what. A lot of League of Legends characters don't directly transfer into classes in the core rulebooks of D&D, so I'm not 100% sure what they're getting at, but obviously that isn't the focus of the story. It seems like the focus of the story really comes down to the fact that the Dungeon Master clearly is a compulsive liar. Every single thing they do for some reason has to have a lie sprinkled in, even things that they don't have to lie about, like the fact that they're clearly playing Curse of Strahd with locations and other NPCs that are in Curse of Strahd. It would have been totally fine if you truthfully said, I want to have a vampire, I want to have Strahd as the main villain, but I'm going to play everything differently, so don't worry about it, and then actually do that. And it's also totally fine to play the module, but you don't have to lie about what decision you made, just stick to it, man. And also, you don't have to lie about how you handled character creation. If you understand that forcing a bunch of people to play classes that they don't want to play means that they're going to leave, and you think that if you don't own up to it, they'll be too stupid to realize and you can keep lying to make the campaign go indefinitely, for someone who claims to be so obsessed with everyone having to become friends, I don't think you value them as friends. I think you value them as people you can keep manipulating. And I'm glad that no one asked him what his rank in League of Legends was. He'd probably lie about that too, just to feel better about himself, even though you can literally look it up online if you get their username. This might be one of the saddest Dungeon Masters that I've read in a story. I don't usually call people sad, pathetic, or a loser, but I think I'm going to make an exception for this Dungeon Master. Yeah, it might be sad that they don't have many friends, but the way they treat people that they're trying to become friends with, are you really surprised no one stuck around? I'd love to hear what you guys thought about the story in the comments below. Make sure to like and share the video if you enjoyed it. If you want to further help support the channel, make sure to subscribe and become a member if you can. And I hope to see you in the next video. Farewell for now.